Then reacting to last night's bowl game between Colorado and BYU, and then I'll be doing predictions for the Really Quest Bowl between Alabama and Michigan, and the Peach Bowl between Texas and Arizona State. I watched Colorado embarrass themselves last night by getting blown out, and to me that means that one of two things: either BYU was a really good football team this year, or Colorado was actually a bad football team with a no coach and the worst offensive line in the Power Four, except for maybe Oklahoma that benefited from a very weak schedule and was carried by two future top five NFL draft picks. And I think that it was the second one of those. And it turns out that Coach Prime has decided not to leave after this season, which I really think would be the best time for him to leave because it looks like he's actually turned their football program around when he really hasn't. And he's decided to expose himself before leaving pretend coaching as not being a real football coach. Now that he won't have Shador Sanders or Travis Hunter anymore to make him look good. And Deion Sanders can bring in 50 transfers this off season, which he probably will do. But he's not going to be able to find another Shador Sanders or Travis Hunter. Colorado is going to be terrible next season. They probably won't even go to a bowl game. And I don't really consider Deion Sanders to be a good football coach or a bad football coach because he's not a real football coach. But now for the Alabama Michigan game. So Michigan, of course, has had a hard time scoring pretty much all season. But in this game, I think they're going to have a hard time even getting a first down because their tight end, Colston Loveland, has quit to get ready for the NFL draft. Who is going to catch the football for them in this game? Because their wide receivers are all garbage and their quarterbacks are too. And I know you may be thinking, well, they didn't have Loveland when they beat Ohio State, so they can just lean on their run game. But they're two really good running backs, Donovan Edwards and Khalil Mullings, have both quit too to get ready for the NFL draft. So who's going to run uh, the football? And I know you may be thinking with that, well, they'll just lean on their defense. They held Ohio State to just 10 points. But Michigan's two elite defensive linemen, Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, who really were the reason why they beat Ohio State, have both quit too to get ready for the NFL draft. So I don't think they're going to be able to hold Alabama to just 10 points. And even if they were able to, I'm not confident that Michigan could even score 10 points. And Jalen Milroe is going to play in this game. And Alabama is going to be without one of their really good running backs, Justice Haynes, who has left the team after he entered the transfer portal. But they will still have Jam Miller, who's a really good running back, and Milroe being there is a big help to their run game too, because you know how good of a runner he is. And I think without Michigan having Graham and Grant in there, their defensive line is going to have a hard time handling the Alabama offensive line. And Alabama being without Malachi Moore sure isn't a help on defense. I know he was one of their best defensive players and overall players this season. But if Alabama's defense plays to their ceiling in this game, with all the talent they still have on that side of the ball, Michigan will probably get shut out. in this game, and I think Alabama is going to be able to run the football pretty well in this game and make enough plays passing with Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard to throw the football to. And I actually don't think that this is going to be a close game. I've got Alabama getting revenge for their playoff loss to Michigan last year, 24 to 6. So now Texas against Arizona State. With coaching in this game, Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State sure does seem to be a much better coach than I thought he was. But I still like Steve Sarkisian better as a coach, so I'm going to give Texas the coaching advantage in this game. And at quarterback, I would give Texas the advantage here because Quinn Ewers, I think, is a better passer than Sam Levitt is from Arizona State. But Levitt is a better runner than Ewers is, and he's had a pretty good season as a passer too. He's thrown for 2,663 yards in 12 games, and he's thrown 24 touchdown passes and completed 63.2% of his passes and averages 8.8 yards per throw. And his yard number and completion percentage number, I know isn't great, but it's solid. And his yards per throw average, though, is really good. And he's got 383 yards at rushing and five rushing touchdowns. But at wide receiver in this game, Texas has a huge advantage. I know I've said before that Texas's wide receiver room has been a little bit disappointing this season because they haven't been able to get a lot of production out of very many of their receivers. But part of that is because they're so loaded at the wide receiver position that it's hard to get a lot of production out of their wide receivers. And Texas's Isaiah Bond, I saw, is going to play in this game, so that'll put them in better shape than they were in the Clemson game when he was out. And Arizona State's got one really good wide receiver, Jordan Tyson, who has actually been a better receiver than any of the Texas wide receivers have this season. But he's going to be out for this game, and that is a big disadvantage for Arizona State because they don't have any other good wide receiver on their team. Tyson had been by far their best wide receiver this season. He had in 12 games over 1,100 yards receiving and 75 catches. And then at running back in this game, Arizona State got the best running back of these two uh, teams, Cameron Scadaboo. I would probably rank him as the second best running back in the country behind Boise State's Ashton Genty. He's really hard to tackle. Scadaboo has rushed for 1,568 yards this season and 19 touchdowns, and he's averaged 6 yards per carry, and he gets around 20 carries a game. He's got 263 carries this season, and he's also a good pass catcher. He's also got 506 receiving and 37 catches and three receiving touchdowns this season. But I still would give Texas the overall advantage at the running back position because they're deeper. Them having three good running backs allows them to switch out running backs a lot during the game. So Wisner, their starting running back, doesn't get tired. And Arizona State does not have another good running back besides Scadaboo. So Scadaboo, has to play almost every offensive snap. But Texas's number two running back, Jaden Blue, is arguably just as good as Wisner is. He had a huge game against Clemson with 146 and two touchdowns on only 14 carries. But the big problem for Arizona State in this game, I think, is going to be the line of scrimmage. Texas has the much better players on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Now, Texas's biggest offensive lineman, Cameron Williams, who is a really good player, I saw is going to be a game time decision to play after getting hurt in the Clemson game. But Texas is very deep on uh, the offensive line and the defensive line. And I remember last year when Ollie Gordon, who played for Oklahoma State, went against Texas in the conference championship game, and he was the best running back in the country at the time. And the Texas defensive line dominated the Oklahoma State offensive line because they were so much more talented, and they shut Gordon down to just like 30 rushing yards, which caused Oklahoma State's offense to struggle and them to get blown out. And I'm not saying that Scadaboo is going to be held to 30 yards in this game, but I am saying I think he's going to be held to under 100 rushing yards in this game because I think Texas is going to control the line of scrimmage. And I think their offensive line is going to control the Arizona State defensive line too. Even though Arizona State is solid on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And if Scadaboo gets slowed down in this game, Arizona State has no chance of winning it. And I think they probably will get blown out if he gets slowed down in this game because he's the strength of really their whole team. He would have to have a huge game, I think, for them to win. And I think Arizona State is going to get blown out in this game. Even though they've been pretty good on offense and defense this year, Texas, I do think, is better on both sides of the ball. So I've got Texas getting the win, 49 to 21 over Arizona State. So that will be it with this video, and please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.